Okie dokie. Good. Going to be talking about ghosts today, and I think that's chapter 11 of the book. And also, in sending this book out, the manuscript out to be reviewed by a couple of Baha'i publishing trusts around the world, I found out from the publishing trust in Australia that there's actually a review office that should approve things being published by Baha'is that discuss the faith. So I didn't know that. When I became a Baha'i a long time ago, there were like 44,000 Baha'is in the U.S. So we didn't have a review office back then. So that's something that's come along since, and not being writing or publishing anything in the meantime, that transpired without me knowing it had happened. So I've updated the description of the YouTube channel as follows, and I'll read it for you here. I have discovered in the writings of the Baha'i Faith fresh insight into a basis for an interstellar code, abundant life beyond Earth, unrecognized life forms upon Earth, and a different timeline for civilization than I was taught in school. My interpretation of the writings represents only my understanding and does not reflect the official position of the Baha'i Faith or its institutions. My hope is to make ufology, cryptozoology, and forbidden archaeology aware the writings exist. These fields describe themselves as seekers after truth, and MUFON has invited me to express my views. References from the Baha'i writings represent copyrighted, authorized translations of primary sources. Please visit baha'i.org/library to read article footnotes in their natural habitat or to research them for yourself. Quote, truthfulness is the foundation of all human virtues, unquote. Be well and take care of your family, which is all mankind. Truly, Grant. So, articles to MUFON and episodes on this channel that discuss the faith, I will be sending to the review office to get them okayed, because the faith is trying to unite the planet as one family, and I don't want to be at odds with that. And I have learned that the Publishing Trust of Australia is not interested in publishing the book because it's just not what they do. And so I have a feeling that the Publishing Trust of the U.S. is probably not going to want it either, because that's just not what they do. So also, having discovered the review office, I've sent an article that's going to MUFON up to them for review, and I've requested their criteria, because probably I will need to rewrite some of the later chapters of the book where I'm discussing the faith vis-a-vis E.T. and Sabe, so that it meets their criteria. So we'll see what I hear back from them in that regard. And then concerning chapter 11, we'll be talking about ghosts. But stick around to the end, because life goes on and there's new things to add that have happened in the last couple of weeks, and I will put them in at the end of the chapter. So here goes, chapter 11, which the working title of the chapter is How You Going to Keep Them Down on the Farm. It's in the book Inside Out, Messages from the Forest People. Chapter 11, here we go. While we were away, the middle house had sustained a flood caused by freezing pipes. My mother's insurance company had suggested tearing it down, but our tenant, Steve, who had seen what could be done with houses that had been submerged following the 1993 Mississippi River flood, knew it could be saved. My mother still resided in Tucson, Arizona. To her credit, she asked Steve to use the insurance money to bring the house back from the edge of oblivion, which he did. There are plenty of tradesmen in the vicinity, and work can be in short supply during the winter, so Steve matched the right people with the jobs they were good at, and thanks to him and them, our house was saved. And not for the last time. Though it not truly relevant to this story, I would be remiss if I didn't also mention that the Payson, Illinois Volunteer Fire Department would later be called when we realized the smell of burning rubbish we had noticed for several days was actually coming from our own attic. The volunteer firemen carried out smoldering attic insulation from an electrical short and saved the house for a second time, not to mention Barbara and me. How does anyone repay a debt like that? There is a phrase in the Tablet of Ahmad, one of the prayers that I recite while walking on the farm, that says, quote, "These favors have we bestowed upon thee as a bounty on our part and a mercy from our presence, that thou mayest be of those who are grateful." You may be noticing a recurring theme in that there are lots of people that I am very grateful to, whether I have mentioned them in this book or not. Still, when we came home that summer of 2011 to get the house ready in advance of our move, there was a lot that needed to be done to make the house a habitable home. There was mold under all the wallpaper. The basement was completely full of awful water. Vines were growing through the window panes they had pushed out. It was bad. You get the idea. Barbara and I and our grown kids sanded and scrubbed every surface of the house and hauled out a 12-foot dumpster's worth of sloppy crud in the stifling August heat and humidity until the point of exhaustion. Some days the task seemed overwhelming and we despaired. Our dear neighbor Joel had offered us his Frog, furnished room over garage. Frog. It had air conditioning. There is no more wonderful invention to restore the exhausted and sweaty. That also saved us. After a good night's sleep and a simple breakfast, things wouldn't seem so bad and we would carry on. We worked exactly like dogs for a couple weeks. Day by day, we gained ground until we made the middle house our home for the second time in our lives. We had lived there right after law school when our oldest child was born. Oddly, we weren't alone in that house either time. We quickly realized there was at least an upstairs ghost and a downstairs ghost. We divined this mostly from hearing footsteps and occasional voices. But sometimes there was more than that. While cleaning the upstairs bathroom floor one day with my back to the door, I called out to the rest of my family crew, "Can somebody toss me a scraper?" A moment later, from behind, a paint scraper bounced onto the floor beside my left hand. "Thanks," I said. Silence. The house is not very big, so I stood up and stepped through the door into the small bedroom, then the hall, then the other upstairs bedroom. Nobody else upstairs. The whole house is hardwood floors. No one had slipped down the steps too quietly to be heard. At this same location in the house, the door between the second bedroom and the upstairs bath, there is a door. Somebody knocks on that door. One time Barb was in the bathroom and my younger son was asleep in the little bedroom when 3 loud knocks, thump, 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 sounded upon the closed door. Barb called, "What is it?" And Nate said, "Who's there?" The knocking had awakened him. Neither of the two people a few feet apart on either side of the door had touched the door. No one else could be seen. Once, in the late 1970s, Barb awoke to observe a dark mist hovering above our bed in the main bedroom upstairs. I was asleep. She said that once she saw it, it quickly dissipated. I didn't care for that. We are happy it has not returned. We have cleansed the house and barns of any unfriendly energy with sage and prayers. But we have no ill will towards any spirits of ancestors or others who feel the need to be around the farm. We don't wish to divest anyone of their home. That would just be rude, wouldn't it? So any friendly ghost, ancestors or not, have been invited to stay. Also in the middle house, there are several hiding places from the Underground Railroad days. And the 1840 era frame house was moved to where it now sits from the exact spot where the stone house was built in 1907. So which ghosts are which? Do they share the houses, or are they ghosts from before any house was built here? Are they all really ghosts? That is hard to tell. We do have plenty of owls. The park, an old 5-acre potato patch that was planted to trees sometime around 1900, by my early days already had plenty of hollow trees that routinely provided nesting for both owls and wood ducks. I recall one time in the spring, probably in the early 1900s, pardon me. Okay, there we go. Had a phone call there. We do have plenty of owls. The park, an old 5-acre potato patch that was planted to trees sometime around 1900, by my early days already had plenty of hollow trees that routinely provided nesting for both owls and wood ducks. I recall one time in the spring, probably in the early 1990s, a fledgling great horned owl was wandering about the park like a small penguin. I went out and herded it into some wild honeysuckle at the base of a huge catalpa tree. It couldn't fly, so it tried walking up the root. As I watched, I learned that penguins probably can't climb trees. It was really cute. It hid itself in the brush and sat still. I went on with my day. It was just a day or two from flying, so I trust it made it okay. Once we moved into the middle house, we knew we had ghosts, and I knew I had seen lights and vehicles in the sky that should not be there. I knew I had heard the story of shimmering golden entities visiting some trusted friends where they lived, but I had packed that away in a memory closet. Life returned to its chaotic normal routine for a while. Also, saving the buildings and fixing things up is the love language of farmers who love their farms. I have to wonder if this activity announced to woods and sky that my family and I were back. Did some beings here remember us? I feel that is possible. Had they known where we were the whole time? I think they easily could have. And that's the end of chapter 11. But there will be an update to chapter 11, which is, here it is, today's April 12th, 2024. About a week ago, the weekend before this past weekend, we had company, and it was Saturday morning. And after we made the bed and got the day started, when Barbara went back upstairs about 11 a.m., the king bed that we have and the bedside table next to the door in the main bedroom, our bed, had been scooted out from the wall 10 inches, bed and table. The other table in the corner had not been moved. And there were drag marks on the floor. Barbara didn't do it, I didn't do it, none of the kids do it, and did it, and the company hadn't done it either. So we don't know what did it. We know that it happened. I didn't take a photograph of it. We didn't want to alarm our visitors with it, so I just pushed it all back up against the wall and asked whoever did it to not do it anymore. That's one thing. And about that same time, another family member in the middle house was brushing their teeth and saw in the mirror behind them a full-body apparition of a thin white dude with bushy hair and thin, gaunt cheeks, medium, small height, like a 19th century looking person. And when they turned around, it had vanished. And so that's the doorway. It was standing in the doorway where all of this other stuff, where I was where that person would have been when I asked for the scraper. The doorway was behind me. And the knocking on the door, that's the door that this apparition had been seen standing in. And it was just looking at her. It wasn't scary, nothing frightening, probably an ancestor, but we don't know who. We have to look for older pictures to see if there's anybody that meets the description of an older, thin, white dude just standing there. So that's the update on this. Again, I'll be looking through chapter 12, which gets into, let's see, what is that one about? I'm not sure. I can't tell here. I think it's just more, well, we'll see. I think we could be getting into some more good stuff. More of the Sabe people, I think, in chapter 12. So, thanks for checking it out. Thanks for being here. I've got just over 100 subscribers, and I think that's fantastic. I am doing this not to make any money, but just to share the experiences with people who might find them helpful if they're experiencing the same sort of things that I am. Thanks for being here. See you next time.